there would be a real potential for the WNBA to possibly not even exist anymore, of which Rebecca Lobo acknowledges that part. She doesn't mention that. The value of these teams, the league, all of it has risen because of Caitlin Clark.
Just a few years ago, you could have bought a professional basketball team, the Las Vegas Aces, for a mere $2 million. Today, the average WNBA franchise is valued at a staggering $272 million, with top-tier teams like the New York Liberty commanding an estimated $400 million. That's not growth, it's a gold rush. A 183% explosion in average team value in a single year, a rate that makes even the NBA's impressive growth look slow. And at the heart of this financial earthquake is one name: Caitlin Clark. The phenomenon known as the Caitlin Clark effect isn't just media hype, it's a tidal wave of verifiable data. Her WNBA debut was the most-watched league game in over 2 decades. Across the board, viewership has nearly tripled, with games now averaging 1.32 million viewers on major networks. Arenas are selling out for the first time in years. May 2024 was the highest-attended opening month in 26 years, with teams literally moving their games to larger NBA arenas just to fit the unprecedented crowds, some of which have topped 20,000 fans, the largest for a regular season game in nearly 2 decades. The economic impact is just as mind-boggling. Clark's Indiana Fever jersey sold out in less than an hour after the draft. League-wide merchandise sales have skyrocketed by over 200%. According to one financial expert, Caitlin Clark is directly responsible for generating more than 25% of the entire league's revenue in her very first season. This isn't just the story of a new star. Well, the sheer scale of this explosion points to a much deeper truth. A single player cannot create a billion-dollar market shift from nothing. Instead, her arrival unlocked a massive, pre-existing and deeply underserved audience that was ready and waiting. The league's failure to ignite this level of passion before her arrival suggests a systemic breakdown in marketing and investment for years. This context changes everything. The players aren't just fighting for a piece of Caitlin Clark's success, they're fighting for their rightful share of a market value they always possessed, but which the league itself failed to unlock. But as the money poured in, a shocking secret was exposed. A secret that has ignited a civil war within the league. While franchise values and revenues soar into the stratosphere, the players who generate that value are being left with the scraps. The core of the conflict can be boiled down to a single insulting number: 9.3%. That is the approximate share of league revenue that WNBA players receive. To put that in perspective, players in the NBA, NFL, and NHL all receive a share of roughly 50%. It's not a gap, it's a chasm. This disparity sparked a rebellion. At the WNBA All-Star Game, players took the court wearing warm-up shirts with a simple, defiant message: "Pay us what you owe us." Their demands are clear: higher salaries, better benefits, and most critically, a direct, automatic share of the revenue they create. In response, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, who oversees the WNBA, chose his words carefully. He publicly stated that the players deserve a big increase in pay, but then he tried to shut down the most important part of the conversation. He said, share isn't the right way to look at it, and that players should focus on absolute numbers instead. The players' union saw this for what it was: an attempt to maintain control. Their public response on social media was a simple, cutting question aimed directly at the commissioner. "Don't want to share at Adam Silver NBA?" This isn't just a squabble over numbers. Silver's argument is a classic management tactic to keep power in the hands of the owners. An absolute raise, no matter how big, is a gift. It keeps players in the role of employees whose value is decided for them. A revenue share, however, transforms them into business partners. It contractually links their pay to the league's success, giving them a permanent stake in the empire they are building. The players' fight isn't just for more money, it's a battle to redefine their role from hired labor to true partners in the business. Just as the players began their fight for a fair share, the league's leadership unveiled a truly bizarre defense. They claimed that despite the record-breaking boom, the WNBA was not only still losing money, but its losses were getting dramatically worse. In 2018, Adam Silver said the league lost, on average, about $10 million per year. But now, in the middle of a historic gold rush, the league is projected to lose between $40 and $50 million in a single year. It's a claim that defies all logic. How can a business with skyrocketing revenue, sold-out arenas, and record demand suddenly start losing 5 times more money? The answer appears to be hidden in a financial black box, a deliberately opaque accounting structure designed to benefit the owners at the players' expense. According to reports, the NBA receives about 40% of the WNBA's revenue, not its profit, right off the top. Another 20% goes to outside investors. This leaves the WNBA's teams and players with only 40% of the money they generate to cover every single expense, from salaries to travel to marketing. This structure makes it almost impossible for the league to ever appear profitable on paper. It allows owners, many of whom own stakes in both leagues, to claim the WNBA is a failing business, giving them immense leverage in negotiations. The Players' Union has openly questioned the accuracy of the league's financial statements, signaling a deep-seated belief that the books are being cooked to justify suppressing their pay. This isn't a sign of a failing business, it's a manufactured narrative. The quintupling of reported losses at the exact moment revenue is doubling is a mathematical absurdity that points not to financial trouble, but to a strategic accounting game designed for one purpose: to keep player salaries down. While the league pleads poverty, one massive deal completely shatters their narrative. The WNBA, as part of a joint negotiation with the NBA, recently secured a landmark 11-year, $2.2 billion media rights deal with giants like Disney, Amazon, and NBC Universal. This deal is a game-changer. Starting in 2026, it will pump an average of $200 million per year into the league. That's more than a 400% increase from their previous media deal, which was worth around $60 million annually. A single media contract will now bring in as much money each year as the entire league was generating just a season ago. This deal is the ultimate proof of the WNBA's value, and it completely obliterates the league's argument that it can't afford to pay its players. But buried in the details of the contract is an even more telling clue. The media partners agreed to an extremely unusual clause. They will revisit the terms of the deal after just 3 years. This is a clear signal that even the corporate giants who just wrote a $2.2 billion check believe the WNBA's growth is so explosive that this record-breaking deal might actually be an undervaluation in the near future. The players know this fire hose of cash is about to be turned on, and their current contract expires right before it happens. This has created a do-or-die moment for the union. They must secure a revenue-sharing model now, or they risk being locked into fixed salaries while the owners hoard the media windfall for themselves. The league's argument for sustainability has been exposed as a sham. The market has spoken, and it believes in the WNBA's billion-dollar future. As the financial battle intensified, the conflict turned personal. The negotiations have devolved into a public war of words between the league's star players and WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, revealing a level of distrust that goes far beyond contract disputes. The bombshell moment came during a season-ending press conference, when Napheesa Collier, a star player and vice president of the Players' Union, publicly declared that the WNBA has the worst leadership in the world. Collier didn't stop there. She detailed private conversations where she alleged Engelbert made deeply dismissive and insulting remarks. She claimed Engelbert said that Caitlin Clark should be grateful for the platform the WNBA provides her, and that players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media deal that she, the commissioner, secured for them. The fallout was immediate. Engelbert denied the comments were characterized correctly and tried to de-escalate, claiming the conflict had become too personal. But the players were not backing down. Nike Ogwumike, the president of the Players' Union, went on a podcast and fired back with a cold, direct statement. "I disagree that it's personal, it's business. This public back and forth is unprecedented. Labor negotiations are usually fought by lawyers behind closed doors. For the faces of the league to publicly condemn their own commissioner, quoting specific inflammatory remarks, is a radical escalation. This is not just a negotiation tactic, it is a public vote of no confidence." By framing their response as business, the players are making a calculated move. They are arguing that the commissioner's leadership style is actively harming the league's business interests. They are effectively declaring her unfit to lead them into this new era of prosperity, turning the contract negotiation into a referendum on her entire tenure. The tensions in the boardroom inevitably spilled onto the court, creating a proxy war over the league's very soul. The intense media debate over the physical treatment of rookies like Caitlin Clark became a flashpoint for the larger cultural battle raging within the WNBA. Incidents like Chennedy Carter's hip check on Clark or the controversy around an eye poke from Dejanai Carrington were no longer just hard fouls. They became national news stories, debated on mainstream shows like The View. Two dueling narratives emerged. One side, largely driven by the millions of new fans Clark brought to the sport, saw this physicality as veteran players being jealous or deliberately targeting the league's new superstar. They argued the league wasn't doing enough to protect its biggest asset. On the other side were the league's veterans and longtime fans. Players like Napheesa Collier publicly called the targeting narrative bullshit, arguing that this is just how physical the WNBA has always been, and that every star player gets played tough. It's just that now the world is watching. The conflict reached a fever pitch when the WNBA Players Association released a scathing public statement condemning a respected journalist, Christine Brennan, simply for asking Carrington about the eye poke incident. The union accused her of attempting to bait a player into a false narrative designed to fuel racist, homophobic, and misogynistic vitriol. This extreme reaction showed just how raw the nerves were. The physicality on the court wasn't new, but the massive new audience watching it was. This created a clash of cultures. Is the WNBA a gritty, defensive-minded league defined by its toughness? Or is it a high-flying offensive showcase that needs to protect its stars to maximize its commercial appeal? The battle on the court was a physical manifestation of the war for the league's identity being waged in the boardroom. Beneath the surface of the financial disputes and leadership battles lies another, more profound issue, one that serves as a powerful symbol of the players' feeling of being devalued. In a league where over 60% of the players are Black women, the 2025 season began with a shocking statistic. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, there were 0 Black female head coaches. This isn't a statistical anomaly, it's the result of a disturbing trend. In recent years, successful and respected Black female coaches like Noelle Quinn, Tanisha Wright, and Teresa Weatherspoon have all been fired, creating a vacuum of representation at the highest levels of leadership. This glaring disconnect between the league's on-court talent and its off-court power structure has become a potent symbol in the players' broader fight. Their central argument is that the league's leadership does not truly value them or their contributions. The complete erasure of Black women from head coaching positions serves as the most visceral evidence of this claim. It feeds a narrative that Black women are seen as essential for their athletic labor, but are systematically excluded from positions of power, strategy, and authority. This transforms the players' fight from a purely economic one into a deeper struggle for respect, representation, and racial equity. It adds a powerful, morally charged undercurrent to their demands, suggesting the problems with the WNBA's leadership are not just financial but deeply cultural. All of these conflicts, the financial disparity, the manufactured losses, the leadership crisis, and the cultural fault lines have brought the WNBA to a historic crossroads. This is no longer a simple contract negotiation. It is a high-stakes standoff that will define the future of women's sports for a generation. The October 31st deadline for a new deal is looming, and with little progress reported, the very real threat of a lockout, a work stoppage that would halt the league's unstoppable momentum, hangs in the air. The owners and the league are now faced with a fundamental choice. They can cling to the old financial model, one that treats the WNBA as a dependent subsidiary of the NBA, perpetually unprofitable and unable to stand on its own. Or they can embrace the new reality. They can recognize the undeniable market power the players have demonstrated, accept them as true partners in the business, and unlock the league's full potential as a standalone, multi-billion-dollar global enterprise. The outcome will determine whether the WNBA spends the next decade as a well-funded but ultimately controlled asset, or whether it finally graduates into the financial and cultural superpower it was always meant to be. The players have the leverage, the owners have the power, and the clock is ticking. The real question isn't whether the players will finally get paid, it's whether they'll have to burn the entire league down to get what they're owed.